Welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast, where I teach educated, successful couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships so that you can stop compromising and start feeling fully alive in your relationship. I'm Alexandra Stockwell, aka the Intimacy Doctor. I'm a physician, a relationship and intimacy coach, and I'm an intimate marriage expert. My husband and I have been married for 27 years. We have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing marriage. I've shown hundreds of couples how to do so as well. So if you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place. I will show you how. Now, let's dive in. What do you invest in? Stocks, bonds, personal growth seminars, vacations? We're going to get into this, and yes, it does have to do with your relationship. Before we do, I want to read to you a testimonial from a woman, actually a physician. She wrote, "My husband and I had been married for 21 years before we began working with Dr. Alexandra. While we'd had many ups and downs in our marriage, we were in what felt like a very long down period when we finally decided to call in support. At that point, we were operating like courteous roommates with little to no emotional intimacy. We hadn't had sex in 9 months. While we communicated often about our children, our connection didn't go far beyond that, despite looking pretty great from the outside. Dr. Alexandra had exactly the background and experience to know precisely which tools we needed, both individually and as a couple, and she created a safe space for us to do the work. We are so much closer than we were before. We've gotten back to truly enjoying one another's company, and our intimacy is very on track. It all feels so fresh that we decided to recommit getting married all over again. And boy, that was a special celebration. It's not anything they'd ever anticipated doing, but it was like the beginning of their second marriage. In fact, I've recently been talking about Honeymoon 2.0, my upcoming retreat that I'm co-hosting with Dr. Kate Mangona in Maui in October. I'll put the link in the show notes. If that's new to you, you should definitely check it out. It's going to be a glorious experience. But anyway, that's Honeymoon 2.0. For this couple, clients of mine, they created Marriage 2.0, 2 wonderful, mature, experienced, wise, and deeply in love individuals wanting to privately and publicly recommit, realign, and chart their course for a really incredible future. So I'm grateful for that testimonial. I'm grateful to all my clients who share their feedback, because in so many ways, it's a private experience. And I think it would be really hard for someone to imagine what it's like to be my client unless they've already experienced it. So I'm just really grateful every time someone leaves a testimonial, and then it makes it possible for other people to have a bit of a sense of what's possible. But let's go back to my question about what you invest in. Before I address that directly, I want to share something that occurred to me quite recently, because in medicine, well, with cancer, it's so well known, but there's something equivalent in many areas of medicine, that we have very precise ways to categorize stages of evolution of the disease. So there's no cancer, and then there's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Different cancers have different numbers of stages, but for the most part, stage 4 is extreme, it's terminal, and stage 3 is headed in that direction. Now, when it comes to marriage, there's no such categorization. We have years of marriage. Someone's been married 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years. but that doesn't mean anything, because 5 years of marriage can mean 5 incredible connected years, and it can mean the establishing of loneliness and unfortunate communication habits. And what I've just said is true for any number of years you've been together. It can be glorious and it can be really dissatisfying. So we just don't have ways of marking where we are in our relationship. And the fact is that very often, the vast majority of people don't actually really put attention on their relationship other than at the beginning at, let's say, stage 0. Otherwise, they don't really put attention on their relationship until it's in stage 3 or stage 4, until one person or both is quite seriously thinking about divorce. Well, that is a time when, if you want the relationship to last, it's time to prioritize it. It's time to show up differently. It's time to make more space for your partner and their concerns and desires, and get to know one another anew and really up-level the marital culture between you. But let me tell you, from a great deal of experience, that doing that when you're at the equivalent of stage 3 or stage 4 in your marriage is very motivating, but it is way more challenging than when you're stage 0 or stage 1, beginning to really feel a little bit of dissatisfaction, not even necessarily wanting to admit it to yourself, let alone to your spouse. It's just that you start kind of dialing down your expectations or requests. You look for opportunities to have fun on your own rather than how you're going to do it together, because it just feels simpler. If you're looking for more, if you're in a marriage that I would call bad and you want to go to good, well, wonderful. Do it. I'm so glad you're here. There's so much that you can learn. As I often say, having a fantastic marriage is a learnable skill. So if your marriage is bad and you want it to be good, learn how to make that change. But I also really want to emphasize, invite, tantalize you with the possibilities. If your marriage is good, how you can make it great. And if it is great, how you can expand and grow and have more connection, intimacy, and pleasure from there. And the thing that is so striking about this is that, well, the majority of clients that I coach are high-performing, very successful. At least one person in the couple has a good understanding of investments, if not both. And you are used to investing. You invest in the stock market, you invest in real estate, you invest in personal growth experiences, you invest in private school for your children, you invest in a car that is just a little more fun, a little more luxurious. But the idea of investments, it's part of being successful in this world. It's part of personal and professional achievement. I was going to say it makes it so nonsensical and crazy, but actually it is understandable given our society. But if we just zoom way out, it really doesn't make sense how people tend not to invest in their relationships. Because let me tell you something, no matter how great your investments are in real estate, stocks, bonds, Bitcoin, whatever it is that you're investing in, your own personal growth and education or experiences, whatever you invest in, well, when it comes to experiences, what I'm going to say doesn't apply, but the rest of investments, you look forward to a return in the future. And the only investment that really brings a return in the long term and also immediately is when you invest in your relationship. And when I talk about investing, yes, I definitely mean investing your time, attention, and financial resources to work with me for private coaching. That is an incredible investment. with immediate and lifelong returns. But I also mean investing in your relationship in the sense of putting your attention on your beloved. The next time you sit down to have dinner together, whether other people are there or it's just the two of you, upping the investment of effort and attention and asking a question and then generously listening for the answer, sharing something vulnerable, being a little more affectionate, or giving your spouse space, whatever it is that would have you be more intentional, have you focus your attention in a way that, it takes a little bit of effort. That's what you're investing. You're investing your energy and your effort. And the return, it's right away, and it is long term. So this is not going to be a super long podcast because you're smart. As you hear me say this, you understand what I'm saying. And I just want to tell a few stories of people who've applied this principle because it's a simple principle and very few people are applying it. So my heart's desire, my big hope is that you're one of thousands listening to this episode. Please don't just hear me talk. Figure out how you want to invest in your relationship. And you can invest a lot or you can invest a little. And both are highly valuable. And by a little, I mean just having more attention, having more patience, having more interest in your spouse, opening up more and sharing what's alive inside you. That's what I mean by sharing a little bit, although it's a big deal because you'll create amazing returns. And if you want to invest a lot, well, consider working with me. The couples who have worked with me 100% of the time, they just wish they'd started earlier. There's no one who thought it was a good idea to wait or that it would somehow be beneficial to wait another year or 2 or 5. No. Every couple I've ever coached has thought, wow, if only we knew this sooner. In fact, there's one couple I have in my mind right now. They did meet with a therapist once or twice 5 years before we started working together, but that therapist didn't really understand them. These were hardworking, highly ethical, just very smart, high-achieving, successful physicians. And this therapist didn't really get them. They didn't invest in their relationship for another 5 years until things got quite concerning. And they said to me multiple times in the first, 3 months of working together, if only we had met you 5 years ago, we would not be in this situation. And the fact is, that's right. There is no benefit to waiting to do the deep, ripe work, which opens your hearts, opens your minds, opens your bodies and your souls. Because when you connect, when you invest, when you value yourself, your partner, and your relationship, it's just magnificent. I was reflecting recently how we have so many words to complain and express dissatisfaction and all the reasons we're resentful towards a spouse. But we really do not have words to describe the flavors and feelings and ways of being and mindset of having a delicious, extraordinary, passionate relationship. So I try to convey that with my tone, with my energy, because I'm telling you, if you are willing to learn how to create this, you absolutely can have it. You won't talk about it the way I do. Part of having a truly profound, passionate, intimate marriage is that It is unique to the two of you. It suits each of your personalities to perfection. It is customized to the marital culture you want to share. It's not going to feel or look the way my marriage with my husband looks. It will be true to you. But I am trying to share the landscape of satisfaction, expansion, gratification, and power that comes with having a truly remarkable marriage. So I said I was going to tell some stories. I want to talk to you about a couple that had been married for 12 years when we worked together, and they fell deeply in love. And the first 2 years of their marriage were incredible. They were so aligned. And then in their particular case, as soon as children came, all of the disharmony, chaos, and differences in their respective upbringings and differences in their sense of what was normal just kind of eroded the foundation of love and harmony and alignment they had. And that was so confronting because they knew that their connection was real. And they also knew that they had a family and children, and they had very different attitudes to parenting. But you know what? The difference in attitudes towards in parenting was not actually the issue. When I coached them, the biggest issue is that they each wanted to feel seen, heard, and respected. And while the other one didn't know it, each of them was not actually as devoted to doing things in a way that was familiar to them based on their own childhood. It came out that way. But in the end, what mattered most was that each of them wanted to feel respected, wanted to feel like they had a voice in the relationship. Well, this is what uncompromising intimacy is made for. I did not coach them to compromise and settle and give up on their dreams and visions for how family life would be. Not at all. I coached them to be able to genuinely hear one another's opinion, value it, see the wisdom, and vice versa. And through this, through investing in kind of at first murky territory until they understood how nourishing and enlightening it is and how being vulnerable actually brought them closer together, well, then they opened up new pathways and began to have enough inner calm and imagination and collaborative energy to create a hybrid culture for their family, which built on values each of them had, but it didn't look like either of their childhoods. The important point I want to make is that they invested in their marriage and in their communication and in their intimacy in such a way that they could each feel self-expressed, seen, heard, honored, cherished. And as a result of nourishing that quality of foundation, well, first of all, they had the tools to navigate the parenting challenges. And second of all, suddenly there were fewer parenting challenges because they were on the same page. I want to tell you about another couple married for 27 years, and she never really relaxed and enjoyed sex. He wanted it. He wanted her to enjoy it. He prioritized her pleasure, and she loved him deeply and prioritized his pleasure. She was glad to feel good, but had never really put time and attention, had never invested in discovering the pathway to her own sensual aliveness. So when the two of them coached with me, the return on that investment showed up during the first session and after, because with guidance and taking her attention off being motivated by wanting to please him and putting her attention on our own experience, something he was fully in support of. He didn't resist that at all. He was relieved that I was guiding her in this way. Well, again, I don't have vocabulary for how much this enhanced their marriage and the glow that she now has most days because she enjoys living in her body and connecting with his. So if you are listening to this and you get my point, and whether you're a gambler or you're very frugal, you understand the principle of investment and you would like to invest in your relationship, both by bringing more attention to it on your own and through having support and guidance from me, well then keep listening, because I want to tell you this is not for everyone. If you're in a situation where you think your partner is the problem, and if only your partner would change, well, you are not the right clients for me, because I coach couples where each individual, sometimes I coach individuals as well, but regardless, anyone that I coach needs to be willing to learn how to take responsibility for their own experience within the relationship. You need to be somebody who knows how to take action, is ambitious in areas of your life, and just wants to learn how to accomplish more, how to be more, how to relax more, how to enjoy more, how to contribute more, and how to receive more from your own relationship. If you know how to make things happen in other areas and it's confronting not to know how to do this in your own relationship, it's time to invest, because I will show you how. I will give you the keys, and when you open the doors to your own relationship, to the areas of your heart and your body that you've kept closed, the return is delight, pleasure, ease, joy, a legacy of connection and meaningfulness that you pass on to your children and your grandchildren. And I assure you, this contributes to a sense of purpose, both personally and professionally. So whether you're ready for coaching, in which case I'll have a link in the show notes, but also you can go to my website, alexandrastockwell.com, and go to the contact page and fill out the form, and I'll get back to you. But whether you're ready for coaching or you're not ready for coaching, which I definitely respect, I certainly hope you take this as a clarion call, an invitation to invest more in your relationship so that you can enjoy the return immediately and for decades to come.